Hey, and welcome to the Deep Resilience Podcast. I'm your host, Melli O'Brien, and in this podcast, along with my weekly newsletter and the Deep Resilience program, we are focusing on one clear goal: translating the best evidence-based tools and the deep wisdom teachings on mental resilience into practical everyday strategies that are accessible to everyone. It is my deep passion to bring you content that breaks down big concepts in ways that make sense to you, but also to make sure I give you tools in each episode that you can immediately use to grow your inner strength and create real positive change in your life and in the world. And hey, if you want to take your inner strength to the next level, be sure to join my newsletter at melliobrien.com, where you'll receive a whole range of extra benefits, special offers, and bonuses. And let's dive in now to today's episode. Hey friends, it's Melli here, and in this episode of the podcast, we're talking about a concept that can be truly transformative when it comes to personal and spiritual growth, and also when it comes to mental and emotional freedom, mental and emotional strength. It's the concept of inner leadership. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I just also wanted to give you a heads up that my new course, Unwinding Anxiety, which is a transformative week-long journey, it starts in just over a week from now. So if you've been feeling like anxiety or stress in your life, or a sense of overwhelm are becoming the norm, or you just feel like you need a reset so that you can live your life from a place of more empowerment and enjoyment rather than feeling kind of overwhelmed all the time, then this course will probably be of interest to you. Over 7 days, I'm going to guide you through 7 skills you need to embrace inner leadership and break the cycle of stress and anxiety. So for 7 days, each day you get a short practice to do in the morning for 15 minutes that creates an internal sense of safety, stability, and connection to your greatest inner strengths and resources. And I'm also going to guide you through practices that unwind the unconscious blocks that often cause loops of anxiety and stress. Plus, I've got 7 live coaching calls every day of this course to support you. So every question that every person who does this course has will be answered. There's an all questions answered guarantee. It's $85 for the course with over $350 worth of bonuses. It's money back guaranteed. So for less than the cost of one therapy session, you're going to walk away from this course with a toolkit of life-changing skills that will last you for the rest of your life. So beginning on June 10th, and the early bird offer applies till then. That's when you get all those free live calls that are not usually included. You'll find all the links for this in the show notes. So now let's dive in to today's episode. So what is inner leadership? Inner leadership, in its essence, is the ability to shift out of being dominated, pushed around, or thrown around by the mind's primal survival-based patterns. Patterns that often hold us back, drag us down, limit our potential, or cause us suffering. So, inner leadership is about the ability to stay connected to your deeper nature, a part of you that is stronger, wiser, more loving, even when stress rears up, even when anxiety is present, even when the world feels loud or overwhelming or life gets really messy. So it's not about getting rid of things like stress or anxiety. It's not about just feeling nice emotions all of the time. It's about staying connected to a sense of safety, stability, and strength within yourself that is more than capable of being able to hold all the ups and downs of life, all the ups and downs of emotions, and has equanimity within all of that, and is able to access and act from what's deepest, truest, and best in you. Inner leadership is also a new lens that you can look at what spirituality is really all about. Because I think sometimes when we come to the path of mindfulness, the path of personal growth, the path of meditation, we either consciously or unconsciously assume that it's about getting rid of our pain or our unwanted feelings and kind of, ending up in an eternal state of bliss. What it's really about is waking up to who you really are, waking up to your deeper nature, and simultaneously in doing that, being able to experience its qualities. Yeah? Self-realization is one part of the path of spirituality. That is the ability to access what's deepest and truest and best in you. And then the second half of the spiritual journey is self-actualization, which is being able to act from deeper nature and to live in a way, in other words, that is wise, that reflects the qualities of our deeper nature. When you do that, you find a source of lasting inner peace and strength that does stay with you through the ups and downs of life, through the ups and downs of different emotions and thoughts. And so in this episode, what we're going to unpack a little more is what inner leadership is really all about, the impact that it can have on our lives, and the 3 foundational skills that we need to start practicing and developing inner leadership. So this episode is going to help you understand how inner leadership can stop you from being so pushed around by anxiety and stress and start living from strength. And also how to take empowered action in your life that is guided by that deeper nature, even when fear, anxiety, self-doubt, or overwhelm shows up in the flow of your life. So to understand inner leadership, it helps to take a step back and take a look at how we view human nature, because when we think about who we are as humans, we tend to think of ourselves as an individual moving around in the world, by our name, our role, our status, our achievement, our beliefs. I'm Mary, I'm a mom, I'm an accountant, I'm middle-aged, I'm a spiritual person, and so on. Seen from another perspective, though, human beings are not separate individuals disconnected from the rest of the world. Rather, each of us is a living system made up of different parts. And these different parts interact with each other and have their own kind of intelligence. So we have a mind, we have a body, and we have awareness. And so we can just simplify to start off with that, thinking of ourselves as a system of at least those 3 parts. Inner leadership really invites you to access and embody an aspect of yourself that I call, in my book, Deep Resilience, your deeper nature or your deep self. Another word for it is awareness. It's the part of you that exists beneath thoughts and feelings. So it can step back from thoughts and feelings and all perceptions, actually, and observe them and choose how to respond to them. As an analogy, you could think about the thinking mind, when compared to the depths of awareness, is like a small wave on the ocean of who you are. Your deeper nature is able to observe both your physical body and your mind and all thoughts and emotions. Therefore, it's more fundamentally and essentially you. It's the deepest, most core aspect of who you are. Now, importantly, some people on a personal development or spiritual path make their mind into an enemy to overcome, to subdue or to get control of. They might even want to destroy the ego or get rid of certain parts of themselves or their emotions. In my experience, this attitude sets up an inner battle with ourselves that only further aggravates the mind, actually, and brings a lot of tension and stress into our system, and actually blocks our ability to wake up to our deeper nature and our higher potential as human beings. So that's not what deep resilience is about, the method that I teach, and it's not what inner leadership is about in the way that I'm speaking about it here. Inner leadership is an approach actually that befriends the mind, treating the mind and in fact all parts of ourselves with understanding, care, and respect as a good leader would, right? So from the deep resilience perspective, the mind, or what is sometimes called the ego, is a useful, valuable, and essential part of our human system. And in my way of teaching, in the deep resilience work, inner leadership asserts that really the thinking mind, even though it's valuable and deserves to be cherished and respected, it also should not be in the lead of our system. Because when the thinking mind is in the lead of our system, it tips into the same old, predictable, survival-based patterns that cause anxiety, stress, self-doubt, negativity in loops again and again. So inner leadership is about the ability to access, again, just repeating this again, access and act from our deeper nature and let it lead our system. Because when the deeper self is the guiding force, we are better able to live guided by awareness in ways that align with our values. We're better able to live from love, courage, wisdom, and passion, not from stress, survival, lack, and fear. So when we talk about really breaking the cycle of stress and anxiety, like the problem for most of us is we may have tools to cope with those patterns, but for most of us, the core of the problem is the thinking mind, with all of its fear-based survival programming, is still in the lead of our system. It's reacting and not responding. It tips into negativity, spirals into overwhelm or disempowerment. But the thinking mind just doesn't actually know how to guide us in a life that is aligned with our values, which is fulfilling, which is wise, because it tips into scarcity and lack and disempowerment and negativity all too easily. And it's not its fault. It's just playing out patterns that were designed to protect and serve you. The challenge is, in the modern world that we live in, those patterns are not very useful and helpful most of the time. So inner leadership is about shifting who's in the driver's seat, so to speak. It's about shifting that leadership from reactivity to grounded awareness, from fear to clarity and courageous action, from survival to strength. When your deeper self is leading, everything starts to harmonize in your inner system. You stop fighting your emotions. Your thinking is more clear, flexible, and skillful. And you can start responding to life with wisdom instead of reacting. So, there's a well-known parable that I think captures the essence of what inner leadership is all about. It's the story of the two people building homes. This is one of the oldest parables. One person digs deep and builds their house on solid rock. The other builds the house quickly on a base of sand. Now, eventually the storms are going to come, because bad weather is just a part of life, right? So when the storm comes, the rain falls, the winds rise, life gets messy. And that house that was built on sand, it collapses very easily. But the house built on rock, it stands firm in all the different kinds of weather. But here's the thing we often miss about this parable. Even in calm weather, the house on the sand is going to start to show cracks. The foundation might seem okay for a while, but beneath the surface, it's unstable. So the cracks are going to begin to show in subtle ways. Little moments of reactivity in life, constant background low-level stress or low self-worth, a sense of unease or dissatisfaction, even when everything looks okay on the outside of life. That's what can happen when our sense of, trying to find happiness or worthiness is built on things that we can't control, like how successful we are at our jobs, how our productivity, if other people approve of us, or how smooth and perfectly life comes together day to day. But when we practice inner leadership, we build our inner foundation on the bedrock of awareness, of being able to, again, access and act from our deeper nature, from presence, purpose, and a deeper connection to who we really are. When we create that kind of inner stability, when the external weather comes, and the storms still come, the emotional storms still come too, but we are not swept away by them. We know how to come home to something solid within us, something strong, something wise, something steady, something that never changes, something that can't be taken away from us, can't be damaged, can't be affected by the storms and the troubles of life. And that ability changes really everything. So over the past month of my life, I've really felt the truth of that. I've been riding some ups and downs personally and professionally, and I just notice how much my internal state shifts in response to what's happening outside, right? So someone praises my work, a little feeling of confidence arises. Someone criticizes my work, a little bit of disappointment shows up. A trip goes smoothly, relaxation comes easily. Delays or challenges arise, a little tension creeps in. Productive day, I feel great. A slower day, self-doubt starts whispering. Now, our inner weather, as well as the outer weather of life, shifts constantly. And for most of us, it means that we can actually get really thrown around by all of that shifting and changing. So the question just becomes really, how do we stay steady in the midst of all of that? How do we stay connected to our inner strengths, to our mental clarity and flexibility, to our emotional strength? Not just on the easy days, but especially when life gets messy. So this, for me, is where inner leadership really matters. It's not about making yourself wrong when a little bit of stress or tension or anxiety or fear shows up. It's not about pushing those feelings away, pretending everything's fine, or always feeling good. It's about how we relate to what's arising both within and all around us. It's about the ability to meet life with skill, wisdom, clarity, and a connectedness to purpose. Welcoming each moment and each emotion as it is, and choosing to respond to it from a calm, grounded strength within. So let's talk about the 3 foundational skills of inner leadership. How do we actually start to build that inner foundation? So in my book, Deep Resilience, I teach 3 core skills. Well, there's actually 4, but the first one is about unwinding. So unwinding from the patterns that hold us back, drag us down, and limit our potential. And then there's 3 skills that build inner leadership, right? So first skill, unwinding the stuff that holds us back and drags us down. second part of the book, 3 skills about building inner strength and staying deeply rooted to that strength. So these aren't just concepts, by the way, these are embodied ways of being that help you shift from survival mode to strength mode. Let's briefly just touch in on each one of them, and then I'm going to give you something that you can start doing in your life today. Just start practicing this inner leadership in a way that's really accessible and you can use on the fly wherever you find yourself. So the first skill is presence, otherwise known as mindfulness. So presence is the ability to come home fully to the moment you're in. It's about unhooking from the mental noise, the worries, the judgments, the rumination, any mental emotional pattern that's not helpful, and coming home to awareness. So presence gives you the mental space to step back from thoughts and emotions, see them clearly, and it gives us the power of choice, the ability to respond to what's happening from a place of wisdom, calm, and clarity. Even if the mind is noisy and even if the emotions are strong, presence is what gives us the choice to ground ourselves in awareness instead of getting swept up in old patterns. So this presence, I always say, is your point of power. You have to return to presence first so that you have a choice in how you want to respond instead of getting caught up in the way that the reactivity that the mind often pulls us into. The second skill is purpose. So purpose is basically your inner compass. It's the ability to stay anchored to your values and what matters most to you deep in your heart. So in times of stress or fear, it's really easy to get lost in survival mode reactions. Purpose is that bedrock of steadiness that brings you back to what matters. It reminds you clearly of who you are and how you want to live. It's not about fixing or controlling life. It's more about staying connected to your own inner North Star and making your purpose and your values bigger than the stress, bigger than the anxiety, bigger than the fear, right? So those become the guiding force for your life. As I often say, with purpose, you are, instead of being governed by fear and reactivity, you're guided by inner strengths. The third skill is empowered action. And empowered action is basically this. Instead of reacting, you're responding. And you're responding in a way that is governed by presence and purpose. In other words, it's action that's done intentionally with awareness, and it's in alignment with your own values, even if that's really tricky to do so. So fear might be there, stress might be there, anxiety might be there, but with empowered action, you make presence and purpose bigger than the stress, fear, or anxiety or self-doubt, and you take action based on presence and purpose. Remember, it's about inner leadership is about accessing and then acting from our deeper nature. So accessing is presence and purpose, the first 2 steps here. Acting from is empowered action, taking actions done with awareness, aligned with your values. So we're responding to life in ways that are true to you and acting from your deeper self, not from your conditioned fear-based patterns. So here's one simple but powerful tool that you can use from my book, Deep Resilience, to start to play with inner leadership in a way that wraps all these 3 skills together. It's a practice called the pivot towards purpose. So this is something I really encourage you to just go ahead and start using today. See what effect it has on your body your mind, and in your life. So the pivot towards purpose is whenever you feel like your primal survival mind is starting to take the lead, and the symptoms of that would be you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling kind of pushed around by self-doubt or limiting beliefs or negative thoughts or any of that kind of stuff. So in any of those moments where you feel a little bit reactive, you want to pause, take one deep mindful breath, and then ask yourself mentally the question, what is my highest intention in this moment or in this situation? What is my highest intention in this moment or in this situation? So the breath connects you to mindfulness, connects you to your deeper nature, and the question connects you to your values. What is your highest vision you're asking yourself for how you want to show up right now? So let's just say you were having a difficult conversation with someone and you start to feel reactive, you start to feel angry, you start to feel maybe overwhelmed, and you could take one mindful breath before you start to react. Ask yourself, what's my highest intention? And then you would answer that question for yourself mentally. You know what? My highest intention in this situation is that, this relationship means the world to me. I value this relationship. I value love. I value family. So how do you want to show up? You want to show up with more kindness, with more care, with more integrity in that moment. So maybe the next words that come out of your mouth, instead of reacting the way that you always react in that conflict with that person, you pause, you take a breath, and you say to that person, hey, you know what? My highest intention right now is, I want to make this relationship better. I care about you. Family means the world to me. So let's sit down and talk about how we can work together to make the relationship better. Or if it's, let's just say a situation where I'll give you a situation from my own life, actually. When I'm writing my book in the last couple of years, and I have moments where the self-doubt arises. I don't know what I'm doing. Am I really going to, am I really good enough to write this book? Or, is anyone going to like this? Is anyone even going to care about this book? And I would hear the voice of self-doubt come up, but then I'd take a breath and go, what's my highest intention in this situation? And my highest intention is I believe in these skills. I believe they can help people. And I have a value of contribution. It means something to me to make a contribution in the world and do something that can make other people's lives easier, better, happier. And then I would take empowered action, right? So now I'm going to continue to write. That's my decision. My values are going to guide me in that situation, not the self-doubt. So in the same way with the conflict situation, let your values guide you in that situation. What matters to you deep in your heart? Is it love? Is it family? Is it creating a win-win situation at work with a colleague who, maybe you're having a difficult interaction with? You could say, hey, what I really care about is creating a win-win situation where both of us can succeed and we can, do this project at our highest capacity. Let's sit down and work this out together. So make your values bigger than the fear. Make what you care about and who you really want to be bigger than the fear. Ask yourself, what's my highest intention in this situation? What would it look like to show up at my best in this situation? And then act from there. In that way, instead of being swept away by fear, stress, or old conditioning, you connect to a source of strength, clarity, and compassion within you that can ride you through the waves of life. That's what inner leadership looks like in real life. That's how you begin to build a rock-solid foundation to your own strengths and your highest potentials within. And it is a practice, right? So, of course, there's going to be times when we still do get swept away. But by practicing these skills again and again and again and again, they become our default mode eventually. It just becomes second nature that when something tricky happens, instead of defaulting to stress, we default to strength. So I hope this practice is really helpful for you. Again, the pivot towards purpose. Take one mindful breath. Ask yourself, what's my highest intention in this situation? And then let your next words, decisions, and actions be guided by that intention, not governed by fear. So give it a try in your life. I hope it's really helpful. And so again, if you've been feeling the effects of being thrown around by stress and circumstance, if you're tired of feeling thrown around and reactive to your emotions, if you want to live from that wiser, calmer part of yourself, then this is what we are practicing in the Unwinding Anxiety course. So if that sounds like it's going to be helpful for you, I invite you to come join me. We're starting on June 10th, and if you enroll before that date, you're also going to get access to the 7 live group coaching calls with me, where there is an all questions asked guarantee for every single participant. So this is not a course about managing anxiety or coping skills. It's about inner leadership. It's about stepping into your bedrock of inner strength and building your life on something that lasts. You can find all the details in the show notes. Until next time, take care, stay strong, stay present, and lead your system in strength from the inside out. If you know someone who you think might benefit from listening to this episode, share it with them. Sharing it could really help them to feel better and improve the quality of their life. And if you found this episode helpful, remember to subscribe to this podcast so that you can receive more tips on growing your inner strength and keep practicing along with us every week. And if you'd like some more support in becoming mentally, emotionally, and spiritually stronger, come check out the offerings I have to support you on my website at www.melliobrien.com. As well as coaching and course options, I also have a bunch of free resources for you, including a free Deep Resilience Care Package, which you can begin to use right away to get some immediate relief from stress and suffering, improve your resilience and mental well-being, and help you navigate whatever you're going through with more wisdom, skill, and confidence. You can find the links for all of that in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in. Take care and stay strong.